My name is David Jaffe. Welcome to the Wealth and Health Podcast, where you'll learn valuable skills and positive habits that will improve your life. This podcast originally aired as a video on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/BestStockStrategy. The Wealth and Health Podcast is brought to you by BestStockStrategy.com.
So I want to talk about myself in the present day in 2021 versus my former self. And this is going to be a little bit difficult because I do think that my former self was more capable than I am right now. So just some of the things that I have noticed about my current self versus my former self. The first is that I can't speak as fluently as I did before. When I was at Cornell, I made nationals in public speaking. I actually won my first tournament, and then my second tournament ever, I actually defeated some of the coaches. Now, I made nationals in impromptu public speaking, meaning that I had the ability to view the words in my head and then flip them around. Now, I know that right now I'm a better public speaker than average, but relative to the person that I was about 15 years ago, there is really no comparison. And I think that part of the reason why I've lost my ability to communicate as effectively is due to the medication that I took about 12 years ago. When I took Paxil and Anafranil and Abilify and Adderall, I think that it had a deleterious effect on my verbal communication ability. The other thing that might have had a negative effect on my verbal communication ability is stress. From working as an investment banker and then working in nightlife and decreasing the quality of my sleep, then I also think that that's had a negative effect. And it's possible that simply getting older has had a negative effect on my ability to think as rapidly and to communicate as fluently as I did previously. Now, there are a few things that I've done which have increased my ability to communicate, and that includes taking supplements such as carnosine or beta-alanine. Taking high-dose krill oil has also helped. Now, these aren't necessarily things that I would say made a major impact, but relative to how I communicate without taking these supplements, I can tell you that I do believe that I communicate better when I've taken these supplements. And the second thing is that I'm going bald in the front right here. I've been losing hair, I think, for about like 8 or 9 years. Now, the baldness has been very slow. I have pretty much the same amount of hair as I did about 5 or 6 years ago in the front. My dad still has a full head of hair. My mom has very thin hair. And I think that's one of the primary reasons why I'm losing my hair. But I'm losing my hair, and it is what it is. I've had numerous people, including my friends and including my wife, tell me that maybe I should consider getting a hair transplant. I'm completely okay with spending money as long as I know that the result and the outcome is going to be as I expected. The issue is that there are so many botched procedures, and there's just so much general incompetence in every sector of the world that we live in, whether it's medicine or finance or anything else for that matter, where my primary concern would be spending a lot of money and then getting a bad result and having to have numerous surgeries to correct the first surgery. So that's the primary reason why I am not planning on getting my hair fixed, primarily because I'm concerned that if I have a negative outcome from the onset, that it's going to lead to multiple subsequent surgeries. The third thing is that I am much less OCD, and I think that's definitely a positive. I remember back in 2008 where I would carry a piece of paper around in my pocket. I would always look at this piece of paper and I would write my to-do list and make sure that I was getting everything done and then cross it off. However, as I've gotten older, I have become much less OCD. I have no idea why I've become less OCD. I think it might potentially be because of the supplements that I'm taking. I know that there are some supplements like niacin or krill oil or vitamin D3 and carnosine and beta-alanine and things of that nature, which can definitely help to mitigate OCD symptoms, or at least from my experience, they've helped mitigate OCD symptoms. But I don't really know the specific reason why my OCD has diminished. And is my OCD right now more than a typical person? Definitely, it is. If I had a continuum where 50% is average, I would say I'm in the 70th percentile of OCD and neuroticism, but that's way better than it used to be. Back in 2008, it was probably at like the 90th or 95th percentile. I remember a few situations where I would walk on the street and then I would see a piece of paper on the floor and I would actually bend down to look at the piece of paper just to make sure that it wasn't the piece of paper that was in my pocket. So yeah, I'm definitely much better off regarding mitigating the OCD symptoms that I had before. The final thing is depression. I am much more resilient to not getting depressed than I used to be. I haven't experienced depression in a really long time, and I've dealt with a lot of stressful situations over the past few years. And even though I might have got anxious or a little bit stressed out, I haven't experienced anything even close to the depths of the depression that I experienced in 2008 or 9. So I think that's fantastic that I've become anti-fragile and resistant to depression. Can I predict the future? No. So I have no idea if this is something that's going to last, but it's been over 10 years and I feel really good. I've had a lot of good and a lot of bad that's happened over the past 10 years. And I haven't experienced the sadness or the depression that I experienced in 2008 or 9. Now, also, the other thing is that in 2008 or 9, I wasn't necessarily depressed because of any external influences. So I think it's normal for someone who's experiencing something externally to become sad or to become depressed. I was just depressed in 2008 or 9 because my internal body chemistry was significantly unbalanced. And that's something that I haven't experienced in about 12 years. Right now, my baseline level is extremely neutral, perhaps even biased towards being positive. Whereas previously, I would feel just immense waves of sadness. I would be very tired, and it was very difficult for me. So those are the 5 ways where I am different today relative to how I was about 15 years ago. Cognitively speaking, I'm probably worse off than I was 15 years ago with my ability to remember things or my ability to communicate. However, overall, I think that right now, and in the present day, I am better off than I was 15 years ago. David Jaffe with BestStockStrategy.com. If you have any comments, please leave one below. Let me know your thoughts on how you compare to yourself from the past. I really look forward to reading your comments, and I appreciate your attention.
Visit BestStockStrategy.com and submit your email address to receive valuable free training. Please give this podcast a positive rating and review. If you have any questions, visit BestStockStrategy.com and send me a message.